In today's video, we're checking out a whole new way to play pinball, one that takes virtual reality and mixed reality to the next level. This kit was designed by the team at Thunderstick Studios, home of the godfather of retro gaming, Glenn Planamino, and built for the Arcade 2 TV XR. I want to send a big thank you to xarcade for sending this unit for review, and the impressive collaboration between all three companies, xarcade, Thunderstick Studios, and of course Zen Studios for their excellent Pinball FX VR integration to the X-Force Haptics kit and XR unit. I did purchase all the tables in this video and adding more. This will be a longer video, so I've added chapter markers below. We'll cover everything from the unboxing, the full assembly, the controls, connectivity, gameplay, and even some reactions. I'm John, and welcome to Wagner's Tech Talk. In my last xarcade video, which I'll place a link up above and in the description below, we set up the xarcade Arcade 2 TV XR itself. We set it up with a Raspberry Pi 5 running Batocera for playing retro games. In this video, we'll install the X-Force Haptics kit, which will allow us to play virtual pinball tables while connected to the MetaQuest Virtual Reality or VR headset. We'll start with a quick unboxing so you'll see everything that's included with the kit, and there is quite a bit. The included installation manual is well done, and will guide you through the setup. Save this piece of foam, we'll use it to protect the console during the upgrade process. A new Gen 2 dongle is included, and what we'll use in this video. There is a 3.5mm audio cable to go between the VR headset and the aux port, and some foam stickers. A serial cable and cable ties, as well as a set of extra buttons. A set of firmware upgrade cables and adapter. The power supply cable and power supply, that's 24 volts and 5 amps. A 10mm drill bit, and yes, you will need a drill and a Phillips head screwdriver for this installation. The plunger assembly and mounting template. Left and right palm rests. A button nut removal tool, which is extremely useful. A 4mm drill bit. Right rear exciter. It says rear, but I think it was meant to be rear. And various screws that we'll need, along with a few spares. The right front exciter. The left rear exciter. The left front exciter. And the X-Force Haptics PCB. And the top panel assembly, which has your solenoid, accelerometer, vibration, and audio adjustments, aux in, and power port. On the back are two solenoids, VR controller holders, and speakers. These nudge feet plates are optional, but I highly recommend adding them. And here's a quick look at everything that was in the box. Next, let's move on to the firmware update. The first thing you'll want to do, either before your kit arrives or after, is update the firmware in your XR unit. This isn't optional, but necessary for smooth operation. It's very easy to do, and we'll go through the steps here. First, disconnect the USB-C cable and only connect the USB-B cable that came with the unit. Connect the other end to your computer or laptop. I'll place a link below that'll take you directly to the xarcade X-Force Haptics Kit support page. Here you'll find links for the install guide and a video. First, make sure you download version 1.0.13 or higher of the Arcade 2 TV software. Any lower version will not work. This is for a PC only at the present time. When you click the link, you'll download it as a RAR or .rar file. Next, download version 3.62 or higher of the controller firmware. You may need to right-click the link and select Save Link As for the download to begin. During the download, you may be asked to keep the .bin file. Click Keep if you get this warning. From your downloads, right-click the Arcade 2 TV and extract the .rar or RAR file. Then double-click the executable. If you get this dialog, click More Info and click Run Anyway. Now follow the prompts for the install wizard. Launch the installed application and select the option Firmware Upgrade. Select the Arcade 2 TV Wired Control app, version 3.6 or higher, and click Open. The firmware will then be downloaded to the Arcade 2 TV unit. This process should take 3 to 5 minutes. If you don't see a progress indicator, you're likely running an older version of the software and need to upgrade to version 1.013 or higher. Once the firmware upgrade is complete, the unit will reboot, and you can disconnect the USB cable from your PC and use the machine as normal. Now let's proceed with the assembly. The first thing we'll do is unplug the USB Type-B cable and the USB Type-C cable from the back of the control unit. Then disconnect the cable going to the LED lights. Remove the rubber pad and clips at the top, and repeat for the opposite side. Pull on the lever below the unit and gently raise the control unit off the metal frame. Place the foam padding from the packaging on a desk or table and set the control unit on it. Using the hex tool that came with the XR kit, remove the 2 bolts holding the sliding blocks in place. Then repeat for the opposite side. Keep in mind there are springs below them and they may fall out, so don't lose them. Now remove the screws from both sides. And I highly recommend placing everything that you take off the control unit into a large Ziploc bag so you don't lose them or get them mixed up with other parts. Now flip the unit upside down. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove the 3 screws from the back. Then flip it back upright, and you won't need this panel any longer, but you may want to repurpose the soundbar elsewhere if you installed it on your machine. This early production unit didn't have a cable tie clip on the bar. If yours does, cut the cable ties, and then use some scissors or a butter knife to remove it. Again, flip the unit upside down, and next we'll drill the holes for the plunger assembly. Take the provided template and peel off the protective film on the back. Then place it on the right edge of the controller. Keep in mind when the unit is upside down, the template should be on your left. Make sure it's exactly on the edges and give it a good press to make sure it will remain stationary. Using the smaller 4mm drill bit, make small marks at each of the small holes to help guide you through drilling. At this point, we just want to barely see some of the black plastic. Don't drill all the way through just yet. Now switch out the bit to the larger 10mm bit. Position it in the middle of the large circle area on the template and make a drill marker. You can now completely remove the template. Drill through the larger 10mm mark, but be careful not to go too deep when drilling. Just drill enough to go through the plastic, otherwise you could damage the button below it. Then replace the smaller 4mm bit and drill through each of the 6 pilot hole markers. Again, don't drill too deep, just enough to make it through the plastic. Now we'll flip the unit upright again. Remove the 2 screws at the front, then remove the screw above the side white button on one side, and repeat for the opposite side. Don't forget to bag your screws. Now raise up on the front panel and rest it on the top. Slide the clear button covers down and squeeze in and gently disconnect each of the 2 wires going to the right flipper button. Insert the nut removal tool over the button. Hold the opposite side of the button down and twist the nut off. You may find it a little faster just to spin it once you have it loose. Now do the same for the opposite side. Remove the 2 wires to the button. Use the nut removal tool to loosen and remove the nut. Now take the plunger assembly. Feed the plunger connector and wires through the small hole. You may need to twist the connector in sideways to get it all the way through. Then bring the plunger closer to the main console. Now using the plunger screws and washers, place a washer over the screw and the screw into one of the 6 holes in the plunger. I prefer to install each of them loosely. Then, once all of them have been started, tighten all 6 of them down fully. Then feed the plunger cable around the back of the unit. Next we'll install the right solenoid. Take the button, rubber washer, and nut, feed the button through the hole, and insert the rubber washer. Then take the right haptics motor and install it over the rubber washer and secure it with the nut. Then using the nut removal tool, tighten the nut securely. Next, reinstall the two button wires to the button and slide the plastic jacket over the connections. We'll then repeat this for the left side. Insert the button, place the rubber washer over the button, insert the left haptics motor, screw on the nut, and tighten it down fully using the nut removal tool. Now connect the two button wires, black and purple, and slide the clear jacket over the connections. Take the panel and move it to the front. Then take the haptics PCB and position the two tabs over the two wires in the middle. Any other wires should be routed to the sides of the PCB. Then press down on the clip to lock it into place. Take the wire going to the plunger that we recently installed and connect it to the port here on the left. Next, take the Y serial cable and connect the main end, where the other two adjoin, beside the plunger connector. The other two wires will connect to the stock PCB with a single green wire connecting to the leftmost P1 port and the two wire black and blue to the right. Next we're going to install the front haptic motors. To do this, we'll position the control panel to the front, slide it back over the frame, and bring it down to the second lowest position. Then raise up on the panel and rest it on the frame like you see here. We'll begin by removing the button wires. One way I find easiest is, if you have good access to the buttons, to use a small Phillips head screwdriver to push in the small tabs. It makes it really easy to remove the small clips holding the button wires. Now take the rectangular foam sticker and we'll install it to the right of the buttons. After a quick look at the position, go ahead and remove the adhesive and position it to the right and give it a firm press to secure it to the panel. Now remove the button nuts to both of the buttons. Then reinsert each button and install the rubber washer. This helps improve the vibration, as does the pad. Do this for each of the buttons. Now install the left front haptics motor over the washers and then tighten the nuts. Use the button nut removal tool to tighten each nut. Next we'll drill holes and install the self-tapping screws to hold the motor in place. Using the smaller 4mm drill bit, create 4 shallow pilot holes in each of the 4 holes in the haptics motor. If you have a small vacuum or duster, blow out any of the wood debris. Then, lightly screw in all 4 of the self-tapping screws. Once all have been tightened, you want just a little bit of flex when pushing down on the haptics motor. Then reconnect each of the buttons. Green and black go on the far left, and brown and black on the far right. Next, slide each of the clear wire jackets over the connections. And if you haven't already, go ahead and remove the cable tie holding the haptics motor wires. And that completes the left side. Now we'll quickly go through the same thing for the right side. Disconnect the button wires. Apply the foam sticker to the left of the buttons. Reinsert the buttons and add the rubber washers. Install the right front haptics motor. Use the nut removal tool to tighten each of the nuts. Use the 4mm drill bit to create the pilot holes for the self-tapping screws. Then blow away any wood debris and insert the 4 self-tapping screws. Also, be sure to reconnect the buttons. In my case, I wound up doing this a bit later, but it's a good idea to go ahead and do it now so you don't forget. Next, we'll install the buffer foam stickers. They basically improve the ability of the haptics to vibrate the control panel a little bit better. We'll start with inserting the square pieces inside the wooden cutout areas on the left and the right. Then the wider pieces will run along the outside edges of the panel. It may be necessary to clip the pieces around the edges with a pair of scissors. Continue to apply them around the edges of the panel. For the middle section, use the thinner strip of foam, and again you'll likely need to trim it as well. You can also start with the middle section if you prefer, totally up to you. Take the trim pieces that you cut and place them around the rear bracket edges. Next, we'll connect the Haptics motors. Remove the cable ties, then connect the red and black wire to the far left port here on the Haptics PCB. Now take the wire going from the front Haptics to the port to the right of the one we just connected. You may want to use your finger to support the PCB while plugging it in. We'll now do the same for the right side. Unbundle the wires and connect it to the right set of connectors. Then connect the right front Haptics to the port nearest the one we just connected. Next, take the cable ties and bundle up the additional wires that we just added. If you want, it's totally optional. Earlier, I didn't reconnect the right side button, so I'll go ahead and do that now. At this point, double check everything has been connected. Once verified, go ahead and close the front panel. We'll no longer need access to it for the rest of the assembly. Now take the new back panel and slide it between the bars on the pedestal. Locate the Haptics power cable and connect it to the power port on the Haptics PCB. Note the arrow at the top will help with the orientation as we are looking at the PCB from the back. Now take the Haptics I/O cable and connect it to the port besides the power port. We'll now install the left speaker cable into the port labeled L, positive and negative. Now take the right speaker cable and connect it to the port labeled R, plus or minus. Only two cables left. Take the right solenoid cable and connect it to the far end port located right here. The last remaining cable is the left solenoid cable and it connects beside the right solenoid port. Here's a brief look at all our connections, and congratulations, we're just about done. I'll now raise the deck to make it easier to attach the back panel without adding any stress to any of the wires. Then make sure that the panel is fully seated around all edges. Remember that bag of parts at the beginning? Well, it's time to put them back to use. Start with the side rounded screws, then the guide blocks, then repeat for the opposite side. Make sure you can push in a little and it springs back. You don't want it overly tight here. Now install 3 of the rounded screws to the back panel. Install 1 of the flat screws to the left side of the unit. Then repeat this for the right. Install 2 of the flat screws to the front panel. There was a little bit of foam overlap, which I can take care of later with an X-Acto blade. And there we have it. The XR unit is fully upgraded with the X-Force Haptics kit, though we do have a few little things left to do. Let's remove the deck one last time. Place the pedestal on its side on the floor and unscrew the feet. Place a screw and washer through the nudge plate and then tighten it down really good with the included Allen wrench. Then reattach the foot. Inserting it to the outside will provide the maximum movement. Then repeat for all 4 feet. Set the pedestal back upright. Reinstall the XR unit. On the bottom, reattach the LED cable. Take the left palm rest and get an idea of its placement, aligning the horizontal line to the shaft on the stick. Remove the adhesive backing and affix it like this to the panel. Make sure the stick moves freely and give it a good press. Now take the right side palm rest, get an idea of where it lines up. Then remove the backing and position it over the right buttons and give it a good press. Plug in the USB-C cable, the 3.5mm headphone cable, the Haptics power cable, and as the godfather of retro gaming, Mr. Glenn Planamino would say,
game on.
Let's discuss a little bit about the controls and connections. First off, on the XR unit with the X-Force Haptics installed, you have various controls available. For instance, if you're playing late at night and don't want the solenoids firing, you can turn it off by pressing the SOL button, and no, that's not shit out of luck. The ACC button toggles the accelerometer-based nudging on or off. That is, when you shake or bump the unit, it's similar to nudging the actual pinball machine and causes the ball to move. The VIB or VIB button adjusts the vibration level, which you can definitely feel during gameplay. The AUD button adjusts the volume level of the game. The speakers are dual 25 watts and sound very good. The plunger is an impressive design. It's an analog optical design and feels very accurate and responsive while in game. Now let's briefly discuss the Wireless Gen 2 dongle, particularly on the Quest 2. The dongle itself works very well and is very responsive when communicating between the headset and the XR unit. However, one thing to note, if you plan to use the Quest 2, there is a slight issue that is easily overcome. You can't plug this dongle into the Quest 2 with the 3.5mm headphone jack connected, that is, without an adapter. I put together this set of adapters, which works, but I have a better solution on order. I'll have a link below to a tutorial page that'll go into more details once the adapters arrive. I also want to add a power splitter so the Quest can remain powered while playing. This small button at the top is used for changing the modes. There are 3 modes, and you press the small button at the top to toggle between each. Red is keyboard mode, which is used for Pinball FX VR. Green, X input mode for 2 players and allows wireless 2-player gamepad control. And purple, which is for classic Pinball FX and Star Wars Pinball. In this video, I'll be using red or keyboard mode with Pinball FX VR. When you start Pinball FX, it automatically detects xarcade mode. There's no further setup needed unless you want to configure table audio levels. You can use the left controller to smoothly move around the arcade, but I'm just using the right controller here. Just walk up to a table that you want to play and select play. If you select xarcade mode, you just press the left and right white flipper buttons on the XR unit to get started. Let's check out Knight Rider.
Knight Rider. A shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man.
How much longer will we be staying here?
That's a real good question.
If I move my head closer to the plunger, you can get a better feel for just how accurate the plunger responds. In my opinion, this is the most immersive way to play pinball. For years, I've only played virtual pinball on a flat 2D display. Only a 3D view will allow you to see the ramps, what's below them, and see the tables as they actually are. That's where this setup will truly impress, and since you're watching this video on a 2D display, you aren't seeing the same immersion that I am. You can view the table from all angles, look closely at the playfield, and you feel like you're standing in front of an actual pinball machine. You can't get that same experience on a 2D display. With your hands on the XR unit, you feel the flippers through the solenoids, you feel the bumps and ball hits with the haptics, the background music through the speakers, and the visuals are provided by the VR headset. It really tricks the brain, and you feel like you are really there. It's hard to explain. Now let's check out a different table, World Cup Soccer. Even if you're not a big soccer fan, the table is very fun to play.
Yellow card.
The X-Force Haptics kit isn't required for playing pinball on the Arcade 2 TV. But as you can see, it's far more immersive with it. Let's check out Elvira, Scared Stiff.
Are you ready to play?
You come! Stop the spiders!
Double trouble.
Ooh!
Another thing to consider, a real pinball machine can cost upwards of $10,000. 2D virtual machines range from anywhere from $1,500 on up. This setup is much more compact, costs far less, and gives you a realistic experience. However, VR isn't for everyone. Some may find the headset uncomfortable or feel sick after playing for extended periods of time. For me personally, I think this may be the future of virtual pinball. Xarcade and Zen Studios are definitely pioneering a whole new way to play pinball with Xarcade, X-Force Haptics Kit, and Pinball FX VR. All this from a guy who's using an older generation VR headset. I may wind up picking up a Quest 3 at some point. It's that good.
Now, Knuckles O'Brien voices the kid.
Back again? I think you're making a mistake, son.
Alright, I'm leaving back.
Some of the reasons why the Quest 3 is ideal over the Quest 2 is that it's 2 times faster, a higher resolution, improved lenses, and a thinner, more balanced headset. Better yet, the MetaQuest 3 supports full color, mixed reality, or MR pass-through. That allows for mixing the real-world environment with virtual objects. Check out this brief segment from the YouTube channel Blockade Pinball Podcast using the Quest 3 and Pinball FX VR. Be sure to give them a like and subscribe.
Must be a skill issue. Let's go.
As we're pushing 30 minutes into this video, I'll stop here and just show a few reactions from some random people who just wandered into my office. Okay, well, they're all family, and they typically run when I ask, hey, do you want to see something cool? But they stuck around for a bit. Looks real, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It feels like I'm actually at a table.
No, please, nothing.
Oh man. Oh, I got a bonus. I was so close. Okay.
So what do you like better, this type of pinball or the other pinball?
Honestly, I kind of like this one. I feel like it's so cool. And you have what's his name? Dracula right there.
So what do you think about it?
It's pretty cool.
Michael, is this it? The big adios?